Chapter 8, God of Water. Varuna, true to holy law, sits down among his people. He, most wise, sits there to govern all. Vedic hymn. Some symbols for the god of water are, surprisingly, goats and horses, fish, Capricorn, snakes, a staff, and a crescent moon. Though the pantheons contain a separate lunar deity, the god of water is also associated with the moon. This is reasonable as the moon affects the tide of the ocean, and also because it has been seen as the sun's opposite. The sun is linked to the yang of Taoism, fire, gold, light, and things seen. The moon, on the other hand, is linked to yin, water, silver, and darkness, or the occult, that which is not seen. This figure is not in the limelight like King Zeus. He is one who must be searched for. In many cases, the god over the waters is also part of a trinity of three main gods, one of the sky, one of the waters, and one of the underworld. This is the case with the Mesopotamian versions of water gods like Enki, Sumerian, Ea, Akkadian, Yam, Canaanite, as well as with the Greek Poseidon and the Roman Neptune. In Avestan, Persian writings, he is known as Apam, and in Vedic, Indian writings, as Apas. In all of these cases and more, the water god is one of three main gods. He also shares similar, if not identical, traits with trickster gods and gods that help create humans. The gods that synchronize with Neptune are the main focus in this chapter, but there are multiple generations of water gods. In Egypt, Nu was the watery abyss who fathered Khnum. Khnum was the source of fresh water that supplied the Nile, on which he had two riverside temples. As clay and silt traveled in the water, Khnum was thought to be the fashioner of people out of clay on his divine potter's wheel. The son of Khnum is the water god Sobek, who is known for his protective and healing magic, robbery, and sexuality. Like Pan, he took advantage of women. In Sumerian myth, the primordial water goddess Namu mated with the freshwater god Apsu to create the first gods. Namu was the mother of Enki. It may not be fair to label Enki strictly as a water god. His name means Lord of Earth, and he plays other roles. But his temple was by the mouth of the Euphrates and the Persian Gulf, where he controlled the waters and oversaw the work of his fishermen priests and seafaring worshippers. The Babylonians had a half-fish, half-man god called Oannes that would come out of the Persian Gulf to teach people the various arts and sciences. He was the son of Enki. In Greece, the Titan generation god was Oceanus. For the Olympian generation, it was Poseidon. This is the god that mariners of the Mediterranean Sea would supplicate for safe voyage on the waters. Even Alexander the Great sacrificed horses to him. But Poseidon was known to cause destruction on land and sea with his powerful trident, a three-pronged pitchfork. The water god is an appropriate destroyer and reshaper because that is what water does. It cuts through mountains to create canyons, and it beats rock into grains of sand. As a destroyer with a trident, Poseidon synchronizes with the Hindu god Shiva that wields the same emblem as he destroys. In modern time, the trident has become a symbol for Satan, who Mormon prophets say has more power in the waters. Poseidon married the daughter of his uncle Oceanus, and together they had Triton, a merman messenger similar to the Middle Eastern Oannes. The maritime Phoenicians, also known as Canaanites or people of the Levant, had a water god named Yam. Yam was one of the Elohim, children of El. In the Baal cycle, we read that there was a war in heaven in which Prince Yam was cast out, yet he continues to rule the oceans and the abyss. He was responsible for shipwrecks, storms, and disasters. One of the main cities in Phoenicia was Sidon, a port that traded throughout the Mediterranean. Sidon means fishery and has a clear connection with the Greek god Poseidon. A temple in Sidon was dedicated to the god Eshmun, whose symbol was a serpent on a staff. In Hinduism, the god that lives in and controls the waters is called Varuna. Anciently, Varuna was one of the divine triad, and later it was said that he was demoted by Indra because of violent behavior. Varuna was king of the Asura gods, but Indra made him join the Deva side. As the writers of the Vedas were Aryans, many of the theonyms, god names, are similar to other Indo-Aryan deities, such as the Hittite water god Aruna. His various other names include Rudra, Shiva, Apamnapat, Mitra, and sometimes he is even combined with the fire god Agni. As Buddhism is a breakoff of Hinduism, Varuna made his way into China as Suitian and to Japan as Suiten. The title Apamnapat, like many theonyms, is found in both the Rig Veda and the Avesta, and it means son of the waters. From Zoroastrian scripture we read, "We sacrifice unto the son of the waters, the swift-horsed, the tall and shining Lord, the Lord of females, the male god, who helps one at his appeal, who made man, who shaped man, a god who lives beneath waters, and whose ear is the quickest to hear when he is worshipped." Here again, the water god is credited as the creator and shaper of human beings. This appears to link water gods, trickster gods, and messenger gods together as one entity. Ahura may be the most high god, but Apamnapat is the direct creator of humans, just like Enki or Prometheus. Another fact that links these categories of gods together is their association with the planet Mercury. Modern science has given the name Neptune to the eighth planet from the Sun after it was rediscovered in relatively recent years. However, this planet was known to very ancient cultures. The Sumerians called it Nudimmud, a title given to Enki. In researching this deity, we find a trail of morphing names that can be traced from India to the western coast of Europe. In India, he is Apamnapat, the son of Apas. Going north and west to Persia, it is the same. Napat, grandson, is related to the Latin word nepos and the English nephew. West of ancient Persia were the Etruscans, who called this god Nethunes. Later, the Romans called him Neptune. Further northwest, the ancient Celts called him Nectan. Of course, his other names traveled around as well. Varuna became Vaurukasha in the Avesta, Aruna for the Hittites, and so forth. As a side note, the primordial goddess of waters for both the Hindus and the Celts was called Danu. In Rome, Neptune was often depicted with two women and his trident. He was associated with horses and believed to be the progenitor of the Latin race. The Celtic Nectan was married to the river goddess of wisdom, Boann. In Ireland, the sea god Lair was the father of Manannán mac Lir, son of the sea, who was both a trickster and a psychopomp, one who guides the dead to the underworld. The Slavic god Veles relates to the water god because he dwells in the watery underground, but we will learn more about him later. Another Slavic god comparable to Neptune is Morskoi, the king of the sea. Aegir is the Norse god of the sea. He is one of three brothers. The other two are Logi, the god of fire, and Kari, the god of wind. He is depicted as a bearded man, belongs to the Jotun race, and has 9 sea goddess daughters. These daughters resemble the sea nymph daughters of the Greek Oceanus, or the 8 daughters of Enki. The Japanese god Susanoo also had daughters. He wielded a sword that broke into 3 pieces. He was one of 3 gods, the other 2 being the sun and the moon. He was cast out of heaven and ruled the seas. We read in the Kojiki that he also defeated an 8-headed dragon. Another Japanese name for this god is Suijin. In China, a winged serpent god named Yinlong gave instructions to the legendary King Yu on how to overcome the Great Deluge. This myth brings to mind the aid from Enki to Ziusudra in the Mesopotamian flood myth. Yinlong helped Yu divide the land by creating rivers. Yinlong rode a sky chariot in the clouds, but after destroying 2 rebel gods, he was unable to return to the heavens and dwelt in the southern regions of the earth. Kanaloa, the Hawaiian sea god, is said to have been a leader of an earlier group of deities that were later defeated and cast down to the underworld, or earth. He is also said to have taught magic and to complement the sky god Kane as a sort of yin to his yang. In some sources of Hawaiian mythology, there are 3 main gods: Kane, the sky god, Lono, the agricultural god, and Ku, the war god. And these gods breathed the breath of life into the first beings that they made out of clay. The sea god Kanaloa, however, may have been the fourth of a quaternary of gods, that or the alter ego of Kane. A more complete version of this myth can be found from the Maori people. From their legends we find that there are not 4 but 6 brother gods, children of sky and earth. 5 of them decide to divide their parents from their divine embrace in order to create space for life. The storm god was angry at this and drove them out of the sky. Tangaroa was driven to the sea, where he became the ancestor of the various sea creatures, including mer people as well as reptiles. Rivers, lakes, and reptiles. When looking from above, a river resembles a serpent. Thus we have the dragon river serpents of Japan and other serpentine gods connected to rivers. All of the above mentioned water gods have been depicted with reptilian features of one sort or another. Scales, snakes, crocodile heads, and so on may symbolize the god's association with water, or the scale-like armor that he wore. Some even theorize that the imagery points to gods that descended from a reptilian race of beings. Most of the gods of Australia are snakes that are connected to water. Aingana is the Australian mother goddess of all that exists, and she is known as the Dreamtime Snake. She is comparable to the originating goddess of chaos that is often depicted as a dragon sea monster eating its own tail, commonly called the Ouroboros. There are also stories from the Aboriginal elders of gods called rainbow serpents that travel from one waterhole to another. Many other types of watery gods and goddesses can be found. Rivers across the earth have myths about a particular god or goddess that they personify. A list of them all is not within the scope of this work. Suffice it to say that there are many from all parts of the earth. Water deities exist in myth, from water spirits of ponds and falls to freshwater nymphs and sea nymphs. A good example of a river deity is Ganga, the Hindu goddess of the Ganges River. She is one of Shiva's wives. It is said that she flows in heaven, on earth, and in the underworld. Like Isis or Boan, she is characterized as a cow that gives much milk. She has been known to take human form, but currently lives as the life of the Ganges. It is believed that she has the power to cleanse those that immerse themselves in her waters from sin. For this reason, many make the pilgrimage to bathe in her holy waters. Similarly, the Jordan River was used for baptisms to cleanse sin. In Christian scripture, John baptizes many people, including Jesus, in the waters of the Jordan. Jewish scripture tells of the miraculous healing of a king that immersed himself 7 times in this same river. Cradles of civilization. The god of water is the creator of modern humans, that is, the humans of this current cycle, which began when Enki and other gods taught civilization to earthlings and introduced new genes to the gene pool. Earth people came out of the last Stone Age with the help of the gods. Enki possessed objects called mes, which the Sumerians thought of as magic. Exactly what the objects were is unknown, but they were used to create a civilized society. At this point in time, around 3000 BCE, humankind learns to read and write, work metals, and construct amazing cities. Though the cuneiform writing of the Sumerians gets the credit for being the first, it is this same time period that these skills appear in Africa, India, China, America, and Mesopotamia. These cities that rose to greatness relatively overnight all had one important thing in common, and that is water. The Nile River brought the life-giving liquid to the ancient Egyptians. The Tigris and Euphrates supplied it to the Mesopotamians. Contemporaries in China grew to greatness alongside the Yellow River. The Indian subcontinent and the Hindu religion both get their names from the Indus River, which provided nourishment and cleansing to the people of the Indus Valley. The Sechin River in South America facilitated agriculture in the Andes during this same time period, around 3000 BCE. Large cities were built by the Norte Chico civilization in the valleys of the Fortaleza, Pativilca, and Supe rivers. The principal god for these people is known as the staff god, who was depicted with snakes and a staff. The Norte Chico predate the Incas by 3.5 millennia. Mesoamericans, i.e. Olmec Maya, used the Coatzacoalcos River for travel and commerce. It is said that Quetzalcoatl sailed away on his snakeskin boat in this river. The above are some of the known cradles of civilization, but certainly not all. The mound builders of North America built cities up and down the Mississippi River. This culture is also estimated to have sprung up a little more than 5,000 years ago. All of these places across the earth have large rivers in common, but what's more, each of the cultures built platform step pyramid complexes and described how the gods came down and taught them the arts and sciences of civilization, in particular the god of water. God of water, India, Varuna, Shiva, sometimes Rudra, and Apas. Persia, Apam-napat. Sumeria, Enki. Akkad, Ea. Babylon, Ea. Canaan, Yam. Phoenicia, Yam. Arabia, Yam. Judea, Asariel. Hurrians, Ea. Turkey, Hittites, Aruna, As. Slavic, Veles, Morskoi. Greece, Poseidon. Rome, Neptune. Etruscan, Nethunes. Celtic, Nectan. Norse, Agir. Egypt, Sobek. Nigeria, Yoruba, Olokun. Chile, Mapuche. Kaikaivilu. Peru, Inca, Mamapucha. Yucatan, Maya, Chac. Mexico, Aztec, Chalchiuhtlatonal. North American tribes, Navajo, To-Nemili. Mongolia, Od-Iyesi. China, Taoism, Yinglong, Gonggong. Japan, Shinto, Susanoo. Buddhism, Suijin. Australia, Wagil, Karora. New Zealand, Maori, Tangaroa. Hawaii, Tanaloa.